I have a special treat for you guys today. This is the Monster Hunter Wilds benchmark running at 4K. That's right. I don't even have a 4K GPU, but I've got the video for you. All of this is thanks to Popo over on the Discord server because Popo has an RX 7900 XTX. That's right, the best AMD GPU you can buy right now. Hopefully that changes in the next 2 months and we get those sweet 9070 XTs or whatever the hell they're going to be called. But right now, this is the absolute best you can do with AMD. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind as you watch through this benchmark is that when you are recording with OBS on the same GPU that you're playing the game with, you will see a significant frame drop. And by significant, I mean, well, 7.5 frames is significant. It might not sound like a lot of frames, but if you look at it as an actual percentage, it's double-digit percentage drop in frame rate simply by running OBS and recording this stuff. That's just the reality of the situation. People who do benchmarking for a living will typically use a capture card and a second computer in order to get a clean, unadulterated frame rate, etc. and so forth. We're looking at over 46 frames per second on average for this thing, which is actually fairly impressive when you consider that this is 4K Ultra with ray tracing on. There's no frame gen, there's no upscaling, and there are no tweaks or modifications to the graphical settings to squeeze out any extra frames. This is just stock out of the box settings with ray tracing on. Now, a lot of people are saying that this particular benchmark program is actually the same thing as the final release of the game. Benchmark came out a week ago, a couple weeks ago, and well ahead of launch. Now, I understand why you're saying that. You got the impression from Capcom that this is the final release of the game. You got that impression. That's not what they said, but I understand that you could get that impression. But I have one question to ask of you people who are thinking this. If that were actually true, if this were actually based on the final release of the game, what do you think the Capcom developers have been doing and are doing for this last month before release? Do you think they're just sitting on their hands waiting around for February 28th? Do you honestly believe that they're not actively working on the game engine and optimizing it? In your mind, what do you think they're doing? Now, when you look at this, if you have a 4K screen, great. If you don't, well, you're going to be looking at a YouTube downscaled version, which shouldn't be too terribly different, right? You're just going to have fewer pixels on the screen. This is the absolute best that this game can look right now, period. And it's gorgeous. I think it's beautiful. It is 100% the best looking Monster Hunter game Capcom has ever created. All that said, if you don't like how something looks in this video, don't blame it on the engine. Don't blame it on upscaling. You can't do that. You can't blame it on frame gen. You can't blame it on any other techno nonsense excuse. Don't even blame the artists. If you don't like how this game looks in this video, then the fault lies squarely with the art direction. What that means is you don't like what the art director has done with this game, because nothing you see here is the result of a technical limitation. So keep that in mind when you're watching other benchmark analysis videos and the presenter is shitting all over the visuals. Ask yourself this one question: is what I'm looking at a limitation of my GPU, or is it simply the art direction? Now, as to performance concerns people are having with this benchmark, I have a couple comments on that. Number one, this video is 4K Ultra with no upscaling or frame gen, full ray tracing, no graphical settings tweaked. Now, a lot of you guys are out there saying, well, look, you only get 46 frames per second on the best AMD card out there. When I play Monster Hunter games, I turn off things like motion blur and vignette and all that other nonsense. When I play this, I'm going to be able to squeeze out a few more frames by doing that. I won't be playing at 4K, but I'll still be able to get a few more frames just due to my graphical preferences. If you think 46 frames at full 4K max settings is bad, I think you guys underestimate what processing power it actually takes to render games at 4K resolution. Now, all that said, yes, other games do give more frames at 4K, but guess what? They didn't on launch. It has taken other games a few patches patches and optimizations post-launch to achieve 80 plus frames at 4K. And in fact, most games still won't benchmark at that rate, not even on NVIDIA cards. This is PC gaming, folks. This is how it works. That's the trade-off for having 8 times the potential visual quality of consoles. You gotta wait a bit for the patches in order to get those sweet, sweet frames, and that's not gonna change, so get used to it. Now, all of that said, almost none of you will be playing at 4K. I won't be playing at 4K. And by almost none, I mean less than 1% of you will be playing at 4K. That's the reality of the market right now. Very few of you guys have a 4090 or a 7900 XTX. And those are the 2 cards that are going to get you 4K. Anything else, you're not going to get this so-called native 4K ultra settings. You're going to need upscaling and or frame gen to make it work. And that's fine. And I'm going to go into that in other videos. Since so few of you are not going to be playing at 4K, I've got something more useful for you on the way, where I'm going to show you how good this game looks on the second worst modern GPU that you can buy right now. So stay tuned for that.